Today we're diving into the world of power supplies, the unsung heroes of your computer. You know that metal box hiding inside your PC case? That's your power supply unit, PSU, and it's responsible for converting the AC power from your wall outlet into the DC power that all your precious components crave. Without a good PSU, your computer is basically a very expensive paperweight. A reliable power supply delivers clean, stable power, keeping your components happy and your system running smoothly. But what happens when your PSU starts acting up? Don't worry, we've got you covered. In this guide, we'll walk you through the most common power supply issues and how to troubleshoot them like a pro. One of the most obvious signs of a power supply problem is a completely dead PC. You press the power button, but nothing happens. No fans spin, no lights blink, no beeps, total silence. It's enough to make you want to cry, right? Before you panic, let's make sure the power supply is the culprit. Check the obvious stuff first. Is the power cord securely plugged into both the PSU and the wall outlet? Is the outlet itself working? Try plugging in a lamp or phone charger to test it. If everything checks out with the power source, it's time to turn your attention to the back of your PC. With the PC unplugged, locate the power supply and find the voltage switch. Make sure it's set to the correct voltage for your region, usually 110 volts or 220 volts. Still no luck? We might have a dead power supply on our hands. Don't worry, we'll talk about how to confirm this and what to do about it in the next section. Sometimes your power supply might not completely die, but instead it'll give you subtle hints that something's not right. One common symptom is intermittent power loss or flickering lights inside your PC. You might notice your computer randomly restarting, freezing, or shutting down unexpectedly. These power interruptions can be incredibly frustrating and often indicate a failing power supply. It could be due to a failing capacitor, a loose connection inside the PSU, or simply an overloaded power supply that can't keep up with the demands of your components. If you're experiencing random shutdowns or flickering lights, don't ignore them. These issues can lead to data loss or even damage to your other components if left unaddressed. In the next section, we'll explore some troubleshooting steps to help you pinpoint the problem. Just like any other electronic component, your power supply generates heat when it's working. That's perfectly normal. However, if your PSU isn't adequately cooled, it can overheat and cause a whole host of problems. Overheating can lead to reduced performance, system instability, and even permanent damage to the power supply itself. One of the main culprits of PSU overheating is dust buildup. Dust acts as an insulator, trapping heat and preventing proper airflow. Make sure to clean your PC regularly, including the power supply's fan and vents, to prevent dust bunnies from wreaking havoc. Another factor that can contribute to PSU overheating is poor cable management. Tangled and poorly routed cables can restrict airflow inside your PC case, making it difficult for the power supply to stay cool. Take some time to neatly route your cables and ensure proper airflow around all your components. Section 5 sounds like trouble noisy power supply. While some power supplies are naturally quieter than others, excessive noise coming from your PSU is usually a bad sign. A buzzing, whining, or clicking sound could indicate a failing fan, loose components, or even electrical problems. If your power supply starts making strange noises, don't ignore it. It's best to investigate the issue sooner rather than later to prevent potential damage to your other components. First, try to isolate the source of the noise. Is it definitely coming from the power supply, or could it be another component like a case fan or hard drive? If you're unsure, you can try gently stopping each fan with your finger while the PC is turned off and unplugged, of course, to see if the noise stops. If the noise is indeed coming from the power supply, it's essential to determine the cause and take appropriate action. We'll discuss some common power supply noises and their potential solutions in a later section. Section 6, when components misbehave, power supply related component issues. Sometimes a faulty power supply might manifest itself through problems with other components in your system. For example, you might experience random system crashes, blue screen errors, also known as the blue screen of death or BSOD, or even hardware failures. If you're having trouble with specific components like your graphics card, hard drive, or RAM, and you've already ruled out other potential causes, it's worth considering whether your power supply might be the culprit. A failing power supply might not be able to deliver enough power to demanding components, leading to instability and errors. It's crucial to ensure that your power supply has enough wattage to handle all your components, especially if you've recently upgraded your graphics card or added more drives. Section 7, Preventing Power Problems, Proactive Tips. Now that we've covered some common power supply issues, let's talk about how to prevent them from happening in the first place. A little bit of prevention can go a long way in extending the life of your power supply and keeping your system running smoothly. First and foremost, invest in quality power supply from a reputable brand. A good PSU might cost a bit more upfront, but it's worth the peace of mind knowing that you have a reliable power source for your precious components. Regular maintenance is also crucial for preventing power supply problems. Make sure to clean your PC regularly, including the power supply's fan and vents to prevent dust buildup. Good cable management can also help improve airflow and prevent overheating. Section 8, Need more juice? Upgrading your power supply. Over time, you might find that your power supply is no longer able to keep up with the demands of your system. This is especially true if you've upgraded your components, like adding a new graphics card or more RAM. If you're experiencing power-related issues, or if you're planning a major system upgrade, it might be time to consider upgrading your power supply. When choosing a new PSU, make sure it has enough wattage to handle your current and future components. It's also essential to choose a power supply with the correct connectors for your motherboard, graphics card, and other devices. Consult your motherboard and component manuals to determine the required connectors and wattage. Section 9, Staying Safe Power Supply Safety Guidelines. Before we wrap up, let's talk about some essential safety precautions when dealing with power supplies. Remember, electricity can be dangerous, so always err on the side of caution. Never open a power supply. Power supplies contain high-voltage capacitors that can hold a lethal charge even when the PC is unplugged. Leave any repairs or internal inspections to qualified technicians. Always unplug your PC before working on it. This includes cleaning, installing components, or troubleshooting any issues. Don't touch any exposed wires or connections. If you accidentally touch a live wire, you could get a nasty shock. Work in a well-ventilated area. Power supplies generate heat, so make sure there's adequate ventilation to prevent overheating. By following these simple safety guidelines, you can help ensure a safe and enjoyable computing experience. Remember, your safety is paramount.